The scent hits me first, stale champagne and cheap perfume clinging to the velvet drapes. It's the kind of smell that tries too hard, like this whole room, a caricature of luxury. My fingers trace the rim of a lipstick-stained glass left on the nightstand. Not my shade. Not my life. But it is, isn't it? This room, this clandestine little world, is a tumor woven into the fabric of my marriage. And I'm standing right in the heart of it. The key card in my other hand feels cold, alien. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I wasn't supposed to be here. He isn't supposed to be here. But the concierge downstairs, bless his professionally blank face, confirmed Mr. Harrison's check-in just an hour ago. My Mr. Harrison. My husband. This isn't just a room. It's a stage for a play I never auditioned for. And the star is about to walk in. If you've ever felt that sickening lurch, that moment where the floor drops out from under you, tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps more than you know to feel I'm not alone in these shadowed corners of life. Our life, before the shadows, was predictable, comfortable. Mark was an executive, always on the move, chasing deals, or so he said. Another red-eye, darling. He'd sigh, pecking my cheek, the scent of his expensive cologne already fading as he headed for the door, briefcase in hand. This quarter is brutal. I'd nod, maybe a little wistfully, stirring my coffee, the city skyline sprawling outside our penthouse window. My own world was taking shape, brick by metaphorical brick. I was a junior architect then, dreaming of reshaping skylines, not just gazing at them. My passion was in reclaiming old spaces, breathing new life into forgotten structures, turning crumbling facades into statements of modern elegance. Mark called it my expensive hobby until my first small project won an award. Then it became our little nest egg. He was proud in his way. Or at least, he performed pride convincingly. We had the apartment, the dinners, the carefully curated group of friends. A life that looked perfect on paper, glossy and enviable. My desire was simple, a partnership, a love that felt as solid and beautifully designed as the buildings I aspired to create. His desires, it turns out, were more diversely located. The first crack in the facade was almost invisible. A receipt, tucked into his coat pocket, smoothed out now on my kitchen island under the harsh morning light. The Nightingale in Dinner for Two, the Nightingale. Quaint, romantic, and decidedly not on the itinerary of his business trip to Chicago. He'd been in Denver, according to the meticulously detailed schedule he always left. A small thing. A simple mistake, perhaps. He could have entertained a client. He could have. The explanations withered before they even fully formed in my mind. A cold dread, unfamiliar and unwelcome, began to seep into the sunlit corners of our perfect life. It started as a whisper, a faint dissonance in the symphony of our marriage. Why Denver, if the receipt said otherwise? Why dinner for two, when he was supposedly networking at a conference gala? My initial attempts to find clarity were clumsy, hesitant. I'd ask casual questions about his trips, listening for a tremor in his voice, a flicker in his eyes. How was the conference dinner in Denver, honey? His answers were smooth, practiced. Too smooth. He described the rubber chicken, the boring speeches, the glad-handing. Details. Always so many details. I started checking his phone late at night, my heart thumping a guilty rhythm against my ribs. Call logs, messages. Nothing overtly incriminating but patterns. Calls to an unlisted number right after he'd supposedly landed in some city, right before he was due to call me. Short-clipped. The internet history, meticulously cleared. Too clean. Like a room wiped for fingerprints. I felt like a fool, a paranoid wife snooping through her husband's belongings. But the whisper was growing louder, morphing into a dull ache of suspicion. Each business trip, departure left a colder void, filled not with longing, but with a gnawing uncertainty. I'd walk through our beautiful apartment, touching the expensive art, the bespoke furniture, and it all felt hollow. A stage set for a life that might be an elaborate fiction. The challenges rose like floodwaters. His trips became more frequent. Expansion, darling, he'd say, flashing that charming smile that used to melt me. Now, it just looked rehearsed. The excuses for late calls, missed check-ins, became more elaborate. Dead zone on the flight path. Client dinner ran impossibly late. Battery died. Forgot my charger. You know how it is, I knew all right. I knew he was lying. I could feel it in the pit of my stomach, a cold, hard knot of certainty. One evening, I found a hotel confirmation email he'd carelessly left open on his laptop. The Argent Hotel, downtown. For a weekend, he was supposedly spending at a management retreat. In the mountains, no reception. Very rustic. I called the Argent, my voice trembling. I need to confirm a reservation for Mark Harrison. The receptionist was brisk. Yes, ma'am. Checking in Friday, out Sunday. King Suite, City View. My breath hitched. King Suite. Not the rustic cabin he'd described. I confronted him, armed with this small, undeniable piece of evidence. His face, for a fleeting second, showed surprise, then it hardened. Are you checking up on me? He'd snapped, turning it around. Gaslighting, I'd later learn the term for it. He spun a tale about a last-minute change of venue, a problem with the mountain lodge, how he hadn't wanted to worry me with the details. He made me feel small, untrusting. I almost believed him. Almost. The doubt, once planted, was a hardy weed. The shift happened on a rainy Tuesday. I was supposed to be at a site visit across town, but it got canceled. Mark was allegedly in Boston, sealing a make-or-break deal on a whim. Driven by that persistent, ugly worm of suspicion, I drove past the Argent. It wasn't on my way. It was a detour fueled by something I couldn't name. And there, emerging from the sleek lobby, laughing, arm in arm with a woman, blonde, stylish, not me, was Mark. My Mark. The world didn't tilt. It simply stopped. The rain on my windshield blurred their figures, but not enough. I saw him lean down, whisper something in her ear. I saw her tilt her head back and laugh, a laugh that echoed in the sudden, roaring silence of my car. It wasn't just the affair. It was the brazenness. The Argent. His Alibi hotel. The place he went to betray me, practically in our own backyard. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark. The image of them burned onto my retinas. The anger was a cold, clear thing. The hurt was a vast, dark ocean. But beneath it, something else stirred. A flicker of resolve. He thought I was just the supportive wife, the pretty accessory. He had no idea what I was capable of. He had no idea I was about to become his worst nightmare, wrapped in a developer's blueprint. The days that followed were a blur of meticulously managed grief and simmering rage. I went through the motions, made breakfast, kissed him goodbye when he left for work. Inside, I was a wasteland. Every shared memory felt tainted, every loving word he'd ever spoken a lie. The make-or-break deal in Boston had apparently been a stunning success because he was buoyant, overly affectionate. It made my skin crawl. The depth of his deceit was a chasm, and I was falling. He'd constructed an entire alternate life, and the Argent was its headquarters. I imagined them in that King Suite, City View, laughing at me and my naivety. All his talk of pressure, of stress, of needing these trips to secure our future. The irony was a bitter pill. For a while, I thought about leaving, just packing a bag and walking away. But that felt too easy for him. He'd offer a tearful apology, promise to change, and I'd be the woman who broke up our perfect marriage over a mistake. No. The thought was still nebulous, unformed, but it was there. He wouldn't just get away with this. Not after turning our life into a lie, with the Argent as his stage. Then came the email. Unrelated to Mark, to the affair, to anything but my actual career. It was from a commercial real estate broker I'd worked with before. Subject: off-market opportunity, the Argent Hotel. My blood went still. I read it once, twice. The Argent. His hotel. Their hotel. It was underperforming, the owners looking for a quiet sale, a redevelopment project. Boutique luxury conversion, the memo suggested. Prime location, good bones, needs vision, my vision. A slow smile spread across my face, the first genuine one in weeks. It felt predatory. It felt right. This wasn't just an opportunity, it was fate, gift wrapped in a betrayal. My mind, usually filled with blueprints of steel and glass, now saw a different kind of structure. Revenge. Cold, calculated, and beautifully designed. I would buy the argent. I would gut it. I would transform it into something so magnificent, so undeniably mine, that every time he even heard the name, he'd remember what he did, and who he did it to. The decision was instant, absolute. The grief didn't vanish, but it now had a purpose. My pain would be the mortar, my anger the steel. I would build my triumph on the ruins of his deceit. The next few months were a masterclass in compartmentalization. To Mark, I was the dutiful wife, perhaps a little withdrawn, which I blamed on a demanding new project I was scoping out. He bought it, of course. He was too busy with his own demanding projects to notice the glint in my eye, the late nights I was actually spending poring over financials, meeting with investors, sketching redesigns for what would become my flagship development. I assembled a team, quietly, discreetly, secured the funding, using my own burgeoning reputation, and some cleverly leveraged assets he knew nothing about. The negotiations for the argent were tough, but I was relentless. I wanted it. I needed it. Every legal document signed, every permit approved was a small, silent victory. I walked the tired corridors of the argent with my surveyors and architects, the ghosts of Mark and his mistress clinging to the faded wallpaper. They were an oddly motivating presence. I imagined his shock when he found out. His alibi, his sanctuary of deceit, transformed into a monument of my success, built with the ashes of his betrayal. He thought he was playing me. He had no idea he was just a pawn in a game I was about to win spectacularly. He kept booking his business trips there, oblivious. Each reservation email I was now secretly copied on, thanks to my new ownership, was another nail in his coffin. He was literally paying to stay in my building while he betrayed me. The irony was so thick I could taste it. The day of the grand reopening of the Serafina, no longer the Argent, but reborn under a name I chose for its meaning of fiery, winged ardor, was a masterpiece of curated tension. I'd sent Mark an invitation, a sleek, anonymous card for the launch of the city's newest luxury boutique hotel. A must-see development, it hinted. He'd been impressed. Someone's giving you a run for your money, darling. He chuckled, oblivious. We should go. See what the competition is up to. Oh, we would. He had, of course, a business meeting that afternoon, one he couldn't possibly miss, but promised to join me for the evening's gala. I knew his meeting was in one of the Serafina's newly refurbished suites. Suite 712. His usual. I'd made sure it was available. I stood in the redesigned lobby, a vision in marble and gold, my name subtly etched into the dedication plaque near the entrance. The air buzzed with excitement, with the clinking of champagne glasses and the murmur of impressed guests. My guests. My hotel. Then, he walked in, looking flustered, Tice slightly askew. He scanned the crowd, spotted me, and his face relaxed into that familiar, charming smile. Sorry I'm late, darling. The meeting ran over. Place looks incredible, though. Who did you say the developer was? He gestured vaguely at the opulent surroundings. I took a slow sip of my champagne, my eyes locking with his. I did, I said, my voice calm, clear. His smile faltered. You? You did this. He looked around, a dawning horror creeping into his eyes. But when? How? While you were busy with your business trips, Mark. Especially the ones here. I let that hang in the air. His face went pale. Utterly, beautifully pale. I don't understand, he stammered, but the tremor in his voice told me he was starting to. Oh, I think you do, I said, my voice dropping a little, laced with ice. Suite 712, for example. I trust your meeting there earlier was productive? I had it renovated to your usual specifications, though the city view is much improved now, don't you think? His jaw literally dropped. He looked around wildly, as if expecting the walls to close in. The blonde, his associate from the meeting, chose that exact moment to emerge from the elevator, looking refreshed. She spotted Mark, then me beside him, then the dedication plaque with my name, Lila Harrison, founder and lead architect. Her face was a picture of dawning comprehension and sheer panic. Mark looked like he'd been poleaxed. He opened his mouth, then closed it. No smooth excuses this time. No gaslighting. Just the raw, unvarnished shock of a man whose carefully constructed world had just been demolished and rebuilt by the woman he'd so profoundly underestimated. He didn't just lose his mistress and his alibi. He saw his deception transformed into my triumph, live, and in front of everyone who mattered in our city. The building didn't just hold his secrets. It broadcasted my victory. He didn't just get caught. He was monumentally, architecturally outplayed. The aftermath was quiet in its way. The divorce was swift. Mark tried to fight for a share of the Serafina, claiming it was a marital asset. My lawyers, armed with the evidence of his infidelity intrinsically linked to the property's acquisition, his rental fees had, in a roundabout way, contributed to its operating costs before I bought it, a delicious irony I savored, made short work of that. He was left with his tailored suits and a reputation that was suddenly, irrevocably tarnished. The city whispered, not about me, the scorned wife, but about him, the fool. And about me, the architect who built an empire on the ashes of her husband's indiscretions. There's a strange emptiness sometimes, a ghost of the life I thought I had. The love I thought was real. That's the tragedy, I suppose. But then I walk through the lobby of the Serafina, see my name, see the beauty I created not despite the pain but because of it, and a different feeling takes over. A feeling of strength, of resilience, of a certain cold satisfaction. He tried to build a secret life in the shadows of the Argent. I dragged it into the light and made it my masterpiece. He wanted a city view for his affairs. I gave him one he'll never forget. If this story hit close to home, or if you've ever had to rebuild yourself from the ground up, I'd love to hear your version. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. Your stories remind me we're all architects of our own lives in one way or another. Thanks for being here. Subscribing helps bring more of these to life.